Hi, everybody. Welcome to Grab Your Keys. I am super excited that I have the pleasure of having Don Moll with us today. He is a loan officer. He's a special loan officer in Florida. He is a CDLP, which means that, no, what? What does that mean? No, you can say it.
Certified Divorce Lending Professional.
A CDLP.
Right.
I spelled it right.
Sure.
So that is the way our lives start with Don Moll. He corrects me when I'm even already correct.
I wasn't correcting you. I was just like, ooh, wow, CDLP.
Yeah, a CDLP. So, Don, what does a CDLP do in the mortgage industry?
Sure. Well, we take a completely different role than your traditional mortgage professional in that, Sue, you'll probably this weekend have a number of pre-approval letters for your realtor partners who are going out to show homes for couples purchasing that marital home. And unfortunately, we know that some of those marriages aren't going to work. So on the back end, the divorcing homeowner's journey is completely different than when they purchase the marital home. So that's where that community is vastly underserved. And that's where a CDLP enters the picture in terms of having that training and background knowledge on the many various pitfalls that can occur during the whether it's a refinance or purchasing a new home, depending on which spouse. Understanding the guidelines that are vastly different on the divorcing side than it is for your traditional purchase side. And we go through a four-step process when working with the divorcing couple, and then with the professional divorce team. And by professional divorce team, I'm talking about the family attorney. I'm talking about the financial, whether it's a financial advisor or the financial neutral, typically a CPA or a forensic CPA most of the time. And then even, believe it or not, mental health professionals, psychologists, mental health advisors, that sort of thing.
Right. So you have to work with a whole team, not including realtors sometimes and not including realtors. And it's a much longer process. What's the normal length of a process of start to finish that you've handled?
Yeah. Again, that's where, many say, wait, how long? Because, if you get one of your contracts accepted on Sunday,
we close in 30 days.
30 days, you're getting paid in October, right? So the cases I've been, just this month, I've been brought in on 6 divorce cases. 4 of them haven't even started mediation yet. So mediation can go 6 months on the fast end. I think the traditional mediation case averages about a year and a half. And then if we're dealing with maybe a spouse that wants to maintain the marital home and has been the primary caregiver, so therefore support income is going to be necessary for qualification, whether it's child support or alimony. Then if we're doing a conventional loan, we've got to show 6 months of those payments as ordered before we can even initiate whether it's a refinance or a purchase.
Right. So it's
yes,
a long period of time. And you really are brought in to say who has the ability to leave, who has the ability to stay, who has the ability to buy, how can we restructure all of their debt, and really look at what debt the entire family has, because the goal is, once the couple splits, is that they don't have any marital debt. And a lot of times we can roll it into the house and everything can work its way out that way by really talking to a financial advisor and seeing what can be done with all the equity that people have in their houses today too.
Well, and that's been a hot topic all year, because I've been brought in on year to date, I think through today, I've been brought on 113 divorce cases since January 1st. And the majority of those conversations have been the spouse that wants to maintain the marital home and saying, look, we refinanced like everybody else did back when rates were at historical lows in the 2s and the 3s. You mean to tell me I've got to go to 7%? So they've been focused on that rate, which I'm a consumer too. And so it's either one of two assumptions, whether they do a simple assumption or a qualified assumption, and educating them on that. But now it's the conversation's changed. You mentioned about marital debt. How that marital debt is assigned and how it's distributed impacts both spouses when each go to apply for mortgage financing. And the lack of clarity or precision within the language of the marital settlement agreement can really be detrimental to both spouses unless we clarify that. And that's where obviously my consultation comes in with the professional divorce team in drafting that marital settlement agreement or MSA. So, as you know, just in the past few weeks, I've changed my conversation to, let's talk about the marital debt that's been assigned to you. Couple of couples just in the last 2 weeks. Hey, we had high impact windows put in, or we had a new roof put in and we financed it, or I got my car payment and that's going to be assigned to me. Okay, let's take a look at a strategy to forget about the rate, because what's most important to you when you're going through a divorce, it's cash flow, because you're typically going to one income source, and taxes. So we can show strategies now to where we say, listen, yeah, rates, I get it, but if you put that aside for a minute, let's take a look at what's really important. We're talking cash flow.
Absolutely. And you can also tell them that down the road, if rates get better, they can refinance. But at least we dealt with the situation right now, and we're getting them into a better situation, which is being divorced.
Right.
Getting it over with. Because until you get all that crazy away, you can't move on with your life. And most of these people want to move on with their life, as the new chapter.
Well, and they want it over yesterday,
right.
Which I've had that three individuals I spoke with today, both had the same, like, God, I just want this over with. I said, I get it, but unfortunately, this process has to play itself out.
And I think it's really important to empathize with those clients too. It takes a very delicate, high emotional IQ, which I believe you have, so that you can really handle the ink with kid gloves, everything that you're getting dealt, because it's a high emotional time. They're trying to figure out who's living in the marital house, who's living with the kids, what's going on, who's getting money, all those crazy things that you're dealing with.
Well, and that's one of the catalysts. What got me into this was coming into the mortgage industry, saying, okay, we always talk about helping people make a difference in their lives. But when I heard this, there's, this divorce niche, that's when I said, well, hold on, being a divorce survivor myself. And even though I'd started out as a college intern at a mortgage bank, and worked at a couple of largest banks here in Florida in the last 23 years, mistakes were still made with the house when I went through my divorce. Right. That impacted me negatively, financially, emotionally, and, legally. So that was a huge driving force into really pursuing this for my mortgage career.
Yeah, I love that. So what do you believe your 3 keys to success have been, Don?
Well, you look back here, all my books that I read. So I don't care if it's the Tony Giris of the world or the Ogmandinos or the Zig Ziglars. They all have better ways of putting it than I do, much more eloquently. But it's always been figuring out what I want, and then figuring out a plan how to get there, and then bottom line, executing it. And I've always lived by this: action generates, activity generates results, and that's in everything in life. I know, people that go to the gym, and you go to the gym and you'll see it where someone says, well, I went to the gym. Okay, what'd you do at the gym? The only reason I bring that up, because when I go to the gym, I'll try to be using a machine and somebody's on their machine, their phone. Who the hell knows what they're doing there? It's like, okay, I'm here for 55 minutes. And for 55 minutes, I know exactly what I want to get done, and I'm out. So it's just the same with what we do. Okay, you went to the office. What'd you do? What'd you do at that time? Did you do the right activity to generate the results and the outcome that you want? It's pretty simple.
Right. How do you make sure that how do you make sure that the way that you want to get there, it ends up with the driving result that you started with?
Well, it's constantly fine tuning it. I was listening to someone the other day. They were talking about an airline. When you're in an airplane, the airline pilots are constantly tweaking. If they're going from New York to LA, and there was some statistic, they said if it's off by like 1 degree for every 60, whatever it is, they're way off course. So it's constantly readjusting that. So it's constantly looking. I say, okay, this is who I want to work with. And then it's reviewing, saying, okay, are these people am I getting that return on investment of those that I'm working with, trying to make my referral partners? And if they're not, then I go on to the next.
Right. Right. And execution. How do you make sure that you're executing every day?
I keep track. I know exactly what I want. I kind of have a goal. That my ideal day is, if I'm sitting here in my office, I'm not reaching my goals at all. My role is to go out and find the next loan, find the next couple to help. And that's not sitting here in my office. It's out there meeting with my attorneys. So I'd like to have 3 meetings a day in person. Ideal day is a breakfast, a mid-morning coffee, a lunch, maybe at 2 or 3 o'clock afternoon. And then I've really if I can do that 4 days a week, that's 12 to 15 meetings in person a day or for the week. It's awesome.
Good for the week. Yeah. When you're in those meetings, what did you talk to them about? What do you ask for the business then? How do you have a call to action?
So my traditional meeting, 95% of my meetings are with divorce attorneys. And so typically it's asking them questions, how they handle certain situations. So for example, if they're working with, I'll ask them, Sue, if you're the attorney, I say, if you're dealing with a client who's going through divorce that wants to maintain the marital home, but has the payor of alimony has irregular income, how do you handle that? Or if you're dealing with a client that is going to be the recipient of a lump sum settlement in lieu of monthly alimony, how do you handle that when they want to retain the marital home? Or how do you handle it when the titling of the property, the current spouse isn't on it? How do you handle that when they want to retain the marital home? Or in terms of the insurance, how do you make sure that there's not going to be a gap in the insurance from the time of the final settlement to the time that they actually refinance the marital home, that there's not going to be an issue? So I'm creating these seeds of doubt, like I never thought of that, I never thought of that, never thought of that. And then I walk them through my process, which is actually a 9-page report that we generate that goes over everything that they need to know in terms of details of the property, things that they've all overlooked, things that they need to know about the financial aspect of it, in terms of maybe they think, oh, well, this spouse is going back to work, so right away, so they can use that income for qualifying purposes. No, it's not. Their perceived reality and a legal option doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a real reality in terms of a mortgage option. So it's a huge educational piece, and then saying, you know what, I know you weren't taught this in law school, and I know you haven't been taught this in your law firm, but guess what? Your perspective of things are vastly different, because the documents that you submit to your judge in the family court oftentimes are not in alignment with the documents that I submit to my judge, the underwriter. And there's that conflict that prevents your client from successfully effectuating the real property section of the marital settlement agreement. So let me show you why it's important not to think traditionally of mortgage and send it out to a traditional mortgage professional, because it's not that they're not capable, but it's the same reason why I didn't go to a personal injury attorney for my divorce. Right. It's just because your focus is on family law, my focus is on divorce mortgage guidance. So
and that makes them understand.
Absolutely, and then it's believe me, it's like, oh my God. And then it's just, okay, as far as asking the business, what clients are you working with right now you think that can benefit from divorce mortgage planning? And then it's simply, the way I've grown my business is simply, if you've seen value in this, what other of your colleagues do you think would see benefit in taking a 30-minute meeting like this? So that's how I've kind of just slowly, methodically gone about building my business.
And you've built it well. Who do you admire?
Who am I looking at right now?
Funny. No, really.
No, you're a success story. I mean, you've been doing this since right out of college. You grew this business, single mom. I've got it easy. I don't have the mouths to feed. It's a completely different scenario. And so I think of leadership at SMP. I mean, all these people that wrote these books, admire them. They're success stories. My father, Mr.
Yeah, Lee. I love that do you have the keys to success right on the top of all of them? Right on the top, baby.
I didn't plant that. That's always
been You're like, I'm going to put Sue right here. Right on the top. One of the things that I
couldn't
think
plan that
you
anymore.
get a lot of business from is you do laugh at yourself and you laugh at, the situations. And if you don't laugh at the situations and make things a little lighthearted, you're not going to make it through. Especially in today's, how much does the laughter, even though we're stressed at times, make things easier?
Oh God, I was at the the Florida Bar annual conference this year. Was just up the road in Boca where you did your filming, and I had created this divorce mortgage planning report that I just mentioned for one of my divorce partners, and every day of that conference was Wednesday through Saturday. Well, every day at 2:00 they rolled out this ice cream cart, and it was a Haagen-Dazs ice cream cart, which ice cream is my kryptonite. So they roll it out, and they had
your vanilla ice cream with fruit on top,
and they had chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, the Dove bars, and the
You're
Haagen-Dazs
like a
bar.
kid in the candy store.
Yeah. So, anyways, the guy pulls up, and I'm looking at it, and the phone rings, and I see it's one of my attorneys. Very good relationship. So I said, "Hey, Lorna, if I'm excited, it's because I'm in front of the ice cream truck, and I'm screaming for ice cream." And there's silence, and she says, "Don, I'm in mediation, and you're on speakerphone." I'm like, "Oh." And I had to laugh. I'm like, I guess I'm the only one screaming for ice cream. Fortunately, the mediator, she had sat through my lecture at the Florida Family Law Conference in June, and then we went to lunch. And then the opposing counsel, we had been to lunch about 2 weeks prior. So at least the professional divorce team didn't think I was a complete idiot. But like, you got to laugh.
You've been in other professions. Which profession do you like and why? And if you were going to change professions, what would you do? Well,
with the exception of my first 2 jobs right out of college, I've been in the financial services industry, primarily as a wholesaler of investment products. So my clients have been financial advisors.
Right.
So what's great about this is that I'm able to actually take something that's dear to me, helping someone through a very, very difficult time, combine it with my financial knowledge, and then weave it into really providing solutions. And I've never felt ever this energized.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When I get up, I'm like, this is cool.
It is cool to help people and make their lives better. It is very cool. Yeah. And when you realize that we're making a difference in people's lives every single day, it's a super cool profession to have. And realizing that not less than 100,000 people in the United States have the ability and the license to do it is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So what's in the future for Don Moll? Besides visiting me in October.
I am coming up in October. Being the #1 divorce mortgage planner in the state of Florida.
That's awesome.
I'm on my way there, but it's getting to the point where I'm getting to the point where I'm the go-to guy. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's
and speaking at the Florida Bar Association was huge for you this year. And you've definitely worked your butt off to get to where you are, and it takes time, and it shows.
Slept on a lot of couches, even slept in my car a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I know it's down the road. There's an attorney here in town years ago. I don't know if you've ever heard the term quadro. It stands for a qualified domestic relations order. So if a couple's getting a divorce and there's a 401k plan, the only way that can be split is through this qualified domestic relations order or a quadro. So there's an attorney here in the state that said, you know what? Nobody else is doing this. I'm going to be the guy that figured this out and be the #1 quadro guy. And he did that. So now I talked to someone the other day. I said, oh yeah, Matt Lundy. He said, I've never even met the guy, but I just send him all my cases.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm going to be I've set my goal to be the Matt Lundy of divorce mortgage planning.
Well, that's super. And I love that you set the goal. I love that you have a niche. I love that you go after that niche. I'd love to see you more talk about that niche on social media, which I tell you all the time because that's near and dear to my heart. If we can get a couple of videos of you doing that, which we'll get in October when you're here, I think it's super important. So Don, thanks for sharing so much light with us on this topic. And as I said, you're hitting it out of the ballpark. And I love every day that you set your goal towards it and that you're looking that activity generates results, which it definitely does. And, you need to know where you want to go. You need to do what you need to do, and then you need to execute it. So I love all of that. So thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate you. And remember, everybody, if this is a great podcast and you want to share it with anyone, share it, like it, tell your friends about it. And remember, next time on Grab Your Keys, we will have another fabulous guest. So we'll see you later on Grab Your Keys.
Thanks for having me, Sue.